You can choose to deceive a crowd of people all the time, and a small group of people in this crowd might believe in your kind of lies. But you can't deceive the entire nation because you can't fool the whole nation. Dear South Africans, for over the 10 past years, the market for weapons manufactured in South Africa has grown many times. However, the economic issues, the growing number of employees at South Africans' military enterprises, and other advantages may be set off by the issue of morality, respect for human rights, and international law.
We just don't have the army. Our army can't look after cabbages. I can't hire them in my farm to go and look after cabbages. We just don't have the army. The ANC has collapsed the army. Just take a walk and look at a South African soldier walking. You see a demoralized man who's carrying a rifle, and you see that rifle is heavy on him. He's not even fit to carry that rifle. They killed it. So the army has collapsed. Where is the army? It's not there. There's no army.
You don't use it because there is just no capacity. So someone is sleeping, and what makes matters worse, they take Mom Angie to become a Minister of Defense. After being a minister of sinkholes. I mean, this sinkhole started during her time. Now she's sinking the army now, after sinking Relebohile.
For over a decade, we have watched as the South African National Defence Force has been systematically weakened. Budget cuts have crippled our military ability to function effectively. Aircrafts and helicopters that should provide air cover for our troops are grounded due to lack of maintenance. The government has neglected its duty to ensure that our soldiers are adequately prepared and equipped for combat. This is despite the fact that this deployment has cost our government 2.3 billion since it began. But it does not end there. The defense sector has been ravished by corruption. Officials at Denel have looted and mismanaged funds, selling South Africa's defense technology to foreign entities. This is nothing short of treason. At the same time, the Department of Defense has wasted over 250 million outsourcing IT services while ignoring existing in-house capabilities. This is a blatant theft of state resources, and it is our soldiers who pay the price.
This is the reality check. And under these conditions, we cannot do anything else but state to the NCACC that they are failing in carrying out their duties. That the report that they presented to us today doesn't help us to understand at all whether these breaches are taking place. In fact, it is a report that doesn't contain any useful information for this committee, making it possible to carry out our overall oversight duty. Therefore, unfortunately, Chair, this session that we are in at the moment is nothing else but a box-ticking exercise with good sounding words of commitments by Deputy Minister Nel saying to us, we will not sell to countries that are in armed conflict and countries that commit these particular crimes.
South African military companies, they are exporting guns and different weapons to the European countries and NATO without respecting the law of South Africa. And they've been doing all this for the past 10 years without anyone inspecting their jobs.
We are not able to verify whether we, as South Africa and companies such as Rheinmetall, Denel Munitions, are doing so, because we do not carry out the job of doing proper inspections also in those countries where arms are received and making sure that those arms are not sold on or transferred on to places of conflict and countries that commit war crimes and genocide, such as apartheid Israel and also what is happening in the Ukraine. This report is not worth the hot air that was blown, the paper that it is on, and we cannot take any comfort that we are not bridging our international arms control commitments. Neither the Deputy Minister nor Mr. Mashaba can give us that guarantee because they do not have the information and they haven't utilized their inspectorate.
Let me explain you how this works. Look at this drawing that we have prepared for you. Right in the center, we have South Africa. Above South Africa, we have Metal, which is one of the companies that work with South Africa government. On the left side, we are having Europe Union, which represent NATO nations. On the right-hand side, we are having Germany, which represent one of the European countries. On the bottom left side, we are having Ukraine, which is a conflict zone war. And then on the bottom left side, we are having Israel, which is the war zone. Now, have a look at all these drawing lines. South Africa supply weapons to NATO nations, which is the European Union. European Union takes these same weapons and send it to Ukraine in order for Ukraine to defeat Russia. At the same time, they take the same weapon and send it to Israel for Israel to continue committing serious massacre in Palestine. On the other side, we are having Germany. South Africa is selling arms to Germany. Do you know what Germany does with this weapon? Well, they take some, they send to Israel as well. But most of this weapon, they are not keeping them in their warehouse. No, they are donating it as an aid to Ukraine in order for Ukraine to defeat Russia. And we all know that Germany and the US, they are working together in partnership in order for them to help Ukraine.
And as often during history, but especially during these times, Germany and the US are standing together when acting, but also during concrete questions. May it be the tanks, the Patriot air defense, or multiple rocket launchers. German systems are proving itself in Ukraine.
And Donald Trump confirmed about this shipment.
They're already being shipped.
From what countries?
They're coming in from Germany and then replaced by Germany, and in all cases, the United States gets paid back in full.
Which nations are they referring to? It is Israel. It is Ukraine. And we all know who's the mastermind behind this conflict that motivates this nation to go ahead and attack other nations. You need to keep in mind that countries does not buy weapons to companies. No, they negotiate directly with another nation. When we are talking about countries such as Germany, which is in Europe, and then we are having NATO nations, which is being represented by European Union. These nations buy weapons straight from South Africa government, which is being represented by the Defense Ministry. But just because there's a lack of transparency, that is why the EFF is calling for an immediate dismissal of Minister of Defense and ask for a proper investigation which has to take place for the past 10 years that this mafia it has been going on.
You should resign today. Why do you disrespect us? And why do you disrespect the South African nation? With this pitiful little report that contains hardly any information, that doesn't address the issues that needed to be addressed here this afternoon. Stop disrespecting us. And lastly, when are you, Minister? No, I'm just pointing to the Minister. Okay, let me leave my hands down. When are you, Minister? You get threatened easily, Minister. When are you, Minister? And when are you, Chief of the South African National Defence Force, resigning? You should resign today. And when are the rest of your generals who were playing golf at Copperleaf while our soldiers were dying? When are they going to resign?
The minister must be on top of the issues 24/7. But the problem is that the minister has failed to do that. She is incompetent. She's unable to deal with these issues.
The EFF want Minister of Defense to be dismissed immediately, and they are asking for a full control for the past 10 years. During the recent Parliament committee meetings, members of the Parliament, Honorable Nias, have called for the end of selling arms to the allies of apartheid Israel and in the conflict zone. Honorable Nias underscored the importance of South Africa's integrity and the South Africa international standing, especially regarding its leadership in human rights advocacy. We all know what South Africa stands for in the international human rights activities.
And to say the majority of people in this country and the government of South Africa and the governing party of South Africa support the people of Palestine. We have said to them and to the world that we are following in the footsteps of Nelson Mandela, who said to us and who taught us that our freedom will not be complete until the freedom of the Palestinians is also achieved.
How's it gonna look if they have to find out that the same South Africa, which has been advocating for the human right, it has been involved in selling weapons in the conflict zone where the human right is not being respected? These same men have to remind South Africans of obligations under various international agreements, including the one of Armed Trade Treaty, ATT. All these agreements, they need to be respected. And if South Africa does not bring this clarity or this transparency in the way that they are trading with other nations when it comes to sell the arms in all this conflict zone, well, it will damage the reputation of South Africa even more as time goes. Guys, the evidence which Honorable Nias have shown to the Parliament, trust me, these are the real evidence, because different articles have stated out and different reports from the worldwide, they have already put their hands on this report. They have already started talking about it.
Both countries have been accused of transferring weapons they bought from South Africa to be used in the war in Yemen.
Last year, there began lots of unhappiness in South Africa's civil society in particular about South Africa not adhering to that act and not adhering to our constitution by selling arms to a country where the arms are probably ending up in a conflict situation in Yemen. And then there was some evidence that came to light that South African arms actually were ending up in Yemen.
And the reason why the EFF, they had called the resignation of the Minister of Defense, because they could not be able to see the clarity from all this.
We are not able to verify whether we, as South Africa and companies such as Rheinmetall, Denel Munitions, are doing so, because we do not carry out the job of doing proper inspections also in those countries where arms are received, and making sure that those arms are not sold on or transferred on to places of conflict and countries that commit war crimes and genocide, such as apartheid Israel and also what is happening in the Ukraine. And this is the serious concern that we as the economic freedom fighters are raising.
Now, let us talk about Rheinmetall Denel Munition, RDM. This is a joint company which represents different countries. Rheinmetall, it is a German company which is working in collaboration with Denel, which is South Africa state-owned company. This company was established in September the 1st, 2008, and Rheinmetall has the sharehold of 51%, while the Denel have 49% of sharehold in this company. These companies, they have shared the market zone. Rheinmetall business is mainly focused on NATO countries, while Denel is focused in the Middle East, South America, South Africa, and African countries. Now the question is, how did South Africa weapons end up being found in the conflict zone? Because according to all the investigations which has been drilling around her lately, it shows that South Africa arms are being sold in this conflict zone.
Neither Deputy Minister now, nor Mr. Motshekga can give us any guarantee that weapons that have been sold to NATO countries and other countries that are supporters of apartheid Israel and involved in the conflict in the Ukraine have not been transferred on to those countries.
It did not stop only there, because this same company, the RDM, it has been also been accused of murdering people in Yemen. Let me explain. We all know that Yemen, they've been in a regional civil war for the 5 past years. Now, as the United Nations, they were busy investigating for the crime which have took place in these countries. Well, in their report, they end up finding a South African-based defense firm being involved in this crime that took place in Yemen. In other words, they were selling weapons in Yemen. For example, this article published by Business and Human Rights Resource Center in 2024, which says that Rheinmetall did not respond to allegations over weapons deals with Israel and to the UN experts called to cease arms transfer to Israel. And this article from Open Secret, it says that how South Africa, his weapons trade undermines its stance on Israel and Palestine. What about Al Jazeera? The EU support for Israel make it complicity in genocide. Do you know why they say this? Because the EU continue to support Israel with weapons and different entity in order for them to continue destroying people of Palestine. As we just demonstrated for you that South Africa arms companies, they are supplying this weapon to NATO nation and EU, whereby these weapons end up in the conflict zone where serious crime is being committed. Now that all this report is coming out and pointing South Africa as one of the countries which is supplying the weapon to all these countries, how is it looking out there for South Africa? How will people see South Africa? How can South Africa go to the ICJ and accuse Israel for committing crime in Palestine, yet the same South African name is being founded somewhere supplying weapons to the same country that are being accused? We all know that South Africa stands with Palestine, isn't it?
We are here to do a simple task, to tell Israel and the world to know that we are on the side of Palestine. We are not neutral, because neutrality during the difficult times is equal to selling out. Palestinians will remember the silence of those who kept quiet during difficult times. The war in Palestine is not a holy war, it's an evil war. Comrades, this war of Palestine will never be won if our actions and our talk are not the same. We must always put our money where our mouth is.
The message is loud and clear. So it's going to be very disappointing to see South Africa being involved in the selling of weapons in the conflict zone. Guys, what is the bottom line in all this? We all know that the South African courts have banned the export
Now, South Africa is suspending arms sales to Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates over concerns they're being used against civilians.
An open secrets investigation revealed that South African-produced weapons have been used in Yemen.
But this has happened after the fact of entering the conflict zone. This means that it was possible to control everything normally earlier, but because of the negligence and lack of transparency from the defense ministry, today the name of South Africa is being seen out there as people who are supplying weapons to their own enemies.
Are you saying that South Africa has no way of knowing and has no way of being notified that their weapons that they may have sold to America or Germany, those weapons are possibly going to be transferred to Israel? Are you saying that there's no mechanism to monitor that?
Yeah, they admitted that they don't have the mechanisms or they lack resources to ensure that they monitor and ultimately follow the trail of where the arms ultimately end up.
Because South Africans deserve to know what is happening in the defense ministry. Peace and love to you, my brothers and sisters. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video and listen to our analysis to what has been happening in the defense ministry. We really do appreciate your time. Before you leave this video, make sure that you give us your thumbs up, because it will really encourage us in order for us to continue doing more research for you and come up and discuss with you about different matters. I believe that will be all for now. Continue to be yourself, be good, be kind, have respect for everyone in order for you to be respected. May God bless you all. I'll see you again very soon in our next video. Ciao, ciao.